So I got this combo Toshiba DVD recorder with VHS player donated by a viewer, and apparently he bought it to transfer his tapes over to digital, but it didn't work. And of course the secondhand store where he paid $25 for this, well, they don't take anything back. It's just too bad, so sad. So he gave it to me, said I could have it, and if I can make it work, great. Let's just see what it does. Does it work? And it sounds like it just shut off. I'm just going to bring up the monitor here. Yeah, it just shut down. Okay, so it just shut down, and the tape is now stuck. We'll eject the tape. And it ejected the tape. Let's take the top off this one and see what's going on with this one. I hear motors running. Just a blue screen. Try this again.
Surround sound.
Now it works. Well, that was weird.
The star of the show is you. So what's in it for you?
So that was weird. It wasn't working initially, and the first time I put the tape in, it kicked the tape out, and then it loaded up the tape, and the tape was moving, but there was no picture whatsoever. Just a blue screen, like the heads were dirty. And then the next time I tried it, it worked. I gotta think it's gotta be the mode switch on this thing. I mean, it would stand to reason because I've seen two of them. I've got one of these things, but I had another one that I serviced for somebody. A little bit of dust in there. See a whole lot of dust in here. Holy smoke. That thing's dusty as heck. Should probably blow all that dust out of there before I do anything. There's lots of dust in this in the tray here. Look at this. I think the first thing I'll do is I'm going to dust this off, and then we'll take this thing apart and try doing the mode switch. That's the most likely culprit on this, is the mode switch. These Funi machines, it's an ongoing issue on them. But I thought this was going to be a more fun challenge, because when I first put it on, well, it had the symptoms of a mode switch, and then it didn't. But it didn't play. So it still could be the mode switch. It could be the mode switch was not completing the loading cycle properly, and the tape was either slipping, or it wasn't signaling the microcontroller that it had finished the loading cycle, so it wouldn't turn the video on, and I just had a blank screen. But let's start by dusting off the DVD player portion. I'll go get my air compressor. We'll blow that out, and then we'll deal with that mode switch problem on this. See if we can give this one a new lease on life. We're going to check out the DVD player. I'll try an audio CD first. So the DVD player plays a CDR, which is good. We'll try a DVD in it next. See if it'll play a DVD. This is my air show disc, so I can show this. Looks good. Reading the dvd+r, no problem. look, the Goodyear blimp.
Coming on towards the BCA to center field. Here come on the 3 Mark Penny 260 aircraft of Team America. Chuck Lisher, Harold Johnstad, and Brian Sanders.
So I think the problem on this one is going to be limited to the VCR portion, and it's a good thing I did see the thing act up the first time I plugged it in. When I first loaded the tape went in, it did nothing. I had no picture. I heard the motor spin up, and I heard the tape load, and then it kicked the tape out, but I could also hear the motors continuing to run after the tape came out. So that makes me think that it is a mode switch problem. So let's tear this one down and clean the mode switch. And if you guys remember how much fun I had the last couple times, these ones here are a bit of a chore. But let's go for it. Get another one of these units saved from the scrap heap. So I'll start by removing the front panel. Now that I've done a couple of these things, let's see if I can find a faster way to do it without having to take off quite as much stuff. I think I'm going to let this run in real time. So I'm not going to cut anything out so you guys can appreciate how long it takes to take one of these things apart and clean that mode switch. And I mean, these were a lot of work. So I'm going to let this thing run. I'm going to leave the camera running pretty much the whole time. And you guys will see how long it takes to strip one of these machines completely apart, to clean that mode switch, and then put it back together. So I hope you guys enjoy a long video, because this one is going to be relatively long. So basically what I have to do is I have to get the chassis out. This unit is permanently attached to the circuit board, so there's no way to open it up or remove the chassis without removing the whole board. It's unfortunately the way that VCRs became at the end. They became basically disposable items that were never designed to be repaired, and they were never designed to be taken apart once they were assembled at the factory. I know I got to take this DVD recorder out of here, so I'll unplug that. And there's a couple screws that hold it in place. Now the DVD recorder section lifts away. And now I should be able to remove this whole thing. If I'm not mistaken, if I can just remove a few screws, I should be able to remove the power supply here with a couple screws. Undo this plug, and I think there's one more screw at the back here, one or two. One more screw back here, and one more at the front. The power supply lifts out. Okay, now if I remove a couple screws from the main board here, I should be able to lift out the board. Just gotta see which screws I gotta take out. I think I gotta take out these ones here as well. There's a couple here that have got to come out. And of course, these ones on the board. I just had a piece of salmon for dinner, and it was probably the best that I've ever. I cooked it on the barbecue on a piece of cedar, and oh man, it was like I could have eaten the whole fish. It was just unbelievable how tasty and how tender it was. It's kind of an expensive way to do it because you buy a plank and you can basically only use it once, right? But man, was it good. Okay, got a couple more screws down here, I think. Got to come out of this thing. There's a lot of screws to tear down on this to get at it. There's a lot of work. That's got to come out. And I think this whole board has to come out. It's another screw in the back here. I'm getting the thumbs down from the people that don't like to watch me on doing screws, but I figured I would do this video in real time. So sorry, but for those that want to tear one of these things down, I think I would like to show you guys the complete process of what's required to clean the mode switch, because I've done these before, but I heavily edited them because I spent a lot of time. The last couple ones I worked on, I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what the hell had to come apart on it to get into it. Now, this being my third one of this particular model, it seems like it's a pretty common problem on these. This one here should go a little bit quicker than the last ones. So undo this plug over here and take out this board. It should lift out. I think I got all the screws out. What did I miss? Oh, I got all the screws. I guess I gotta take these ones out too. Sorry. This would be the perfect deck for selling once I'm done, except for I don't have a remote for it. So that bracket probably didn't need to come out. Well, maybe it does. There. Just so that it's not in the way. And this fan probably has to come out too. It's a different fan than my other ones. This one's got this big back on it. I guess so that it doesn't throw air towards the VCR. Maybe they found that. What's the manufacture date on this one? Well, it's a 2011. Might be able to get away without removing the fan. I gotta take out the screws that hold the plugs in at the back as well. The guy that gave this to me, he bought it because it had an S-video out, and he thought he was going to be able to archive. It was the same fellow that I fixed his Panasonic DVD recorder, the one with the remote receiver preamp IC that had failed. Well, this is the guy that owns that. Owned this as well. Bought this because he wants to archive his VHS collection, and he bought it thinking that the S-video was active for the VHS player, only to find that no, the S-video connector on the back here on all these machines, this is only active for the DVD portion. So when you're using this as a VHS machine, the only video that plays on this is from the audio video outputs here. There's no audio, well, there's audio out, I think over here, maybe not, but the audio video outs work. The S video is, and the component video is only for the DVD section. It does not work at all on the VHS portion. So, and then when the machine didn't work, he said, you know what, here, you can have this thing. He was looking for a machine with S video out to try and get the best possible quality from his tapes, because transferring over the S video will, in many cases, deliver a little bit better picture than composite. It's minimal, but there is a slight difference. Okay, what else is going to come with this? One more screw over here, I think. And then this board should be, I think, ready to lift out. What am I missing? I'm sure there's probably, oh yeah, there's a couple more in the front here. I think these ones have got to come out as well. That one and this one. Just going to unplug this board from there so it doesn't get damaged. And I think I've got them all. Nope, one more. One more back here. And now the board should lift out. One more. This one here that holds this bracket in. I probably could have left these screws in and just taken out the three and taken the whole back off with it, but this bracket should lift out. And then the deck should come out. I think I've got all the screws. I guess the back does have to come off it after all. Because the fan is trapping the circuit board. Okay, now the back's off it, I can unplug the fan here and okay, and if I don't unplug the fan, lift the board out, get rid of the base. There are a couple more screws that have to come out that hold the board in place. There's two of them. There's one right here. There's another one that's underneath this connector. You have to be careful to not break it. This one is a plastic type screw. This one's a metal screw. Now the board will lift enough that you can get into the mode switch. We'll turn the unit over. We're going to lift the unit up to access the mode encoder switch, which is right here on the bottom. Again, you can't lift this thing up much. The mode encoder switch is right here on this side. I'll show it to you guys. Move the camera into position. So mode switch is down here, right there. I'm not going to remove it, I'm just going to pop it apart like that and clean it. Get my Q-tip, we'll get some contact cleaner. In this case I'm just going to use Neutral because that's what I have and I've got the good Neutral. And we're going to spray some Neutral onto that switch. And wipe it with the Q-tip and see what comes off of it. Actually, it wasn't that bad. There's a little bit of oxidation on here, but it wasn't really as bad as I thought it might be. There is some. Clean the actual contacts themselves. Give them a little bit more tension on them. And I'll put the mode switch back together. Spin it a bit. Make sure that the contacts are nicely polished. And set it back in the rest position. There's a hole in the bottom of the cam gear here that it fits into. You can see that hole right there. So when I put it back together, I have to make sure that first of all that the pin here goes into the hole in the mode switch, and that the mode switch itself is lined up with the hole in the cam gear. And once the two of them are, the mechanism will slide back together, just like that. And now we can begin the reassembly process, which takes just as long as it did to take this thing apart. And then the mode switch on this will be serviced, and the unit should be good. I think in this case, this mode switch was probably just starting to go bad, and when I loaded that tape in it there the first time as you guys saw, it just kicked the tape out. But the second time I put the tape in, it didn't. But I didn't get a picture on it. And then the third time, I got a picture. So it's one of those weird problems that we used to see a lot of on VHS machines with bad mode switches. I'm just checking the connections here on the vacuum fluorescent display. Sometimes these crack, and by moving it you'll see them moving, but it looks okay. Sometimes they'll crack. Usually it's the filament, like pin 1 and pin 24. Usually the filaments are the ones that go, and then the display goes out. So just want to check that to make sure that they're not damaged, which they're not. Now it's time to start putting this thing back together. So grab the chassis base again, drop the unit in place. Eventually it will drop into place and everything will line up. There we go. Okay, time to put some screws in. Sorry about that shot there. I thought I had a different shot on the camera and I really wasn't paying attention. But as I say, I'm doing this in real time, so that you guys that have one of these Funis, you want to try and do this yourself, you'll see how much work is involved to do this. It is a fair bit of work. And normally I wouldn't even work on a VHS VCR. I would, VHS VCRs to me are not worth fixing, as a rule. A super VHS machine, yes. A standard VHS machine, no. The only reason that I'm doing this is because it has a DVD recorder, and that makes this one of these decks that are kind of sought after, because first you can play your VHS library and you can play your DVD library, but it also gives you a means of getting that VHS library and putting it on a disc to preserve it all in one machine. And they actually do a pretty good job. I use one of these machines to transfer tapes all the time, and it's I use either one just like this, the other one that I've got, or I use a standalone DVD recorder with a VHS or super VHS machine, and I get good results. I do a fair bit of recording of TV shows and stuff for when people want them recorded. Usually it's like my family and friends, but can record TV shows onto DVD, providing that they're not copy protected. Then you got to go through the Macrovision scrubber, but that still works. Okay, next I'll put in this bracket. Goes out like that. Plastic insulator that goes in here. Where did it go? I remember taking it out. It goes in right there. There it is. Incidentally, where the sound blanks there momentarily, that was actually a file handoff on my camera, because I think it's every 10 minutes or so, it breaks to a new file when I'm in this mode, because it's in a high band 60 frames, so each file is only 10 minutes long, And at that break, there's no break in the video, but there's a momentary pause in the sound. So that's what you're hearing, because I'm not doing any editing on this. I just wanted you guys to see how much work is involved in tearing one of these things apart, taking every screw out and putting every screw back in. So I apologize for those that are impatient, but some people actually want to see this. So I'm doing what I've been asked to do. If people are wondering, do I like my Pickwick multi-bit driver? Yes, I do. I did a video on this before, and yes, I definitely like this. I like the fact it's got a magnet in here that holds these in. They're not held in place by a clip or anything, but these can be used on a drill. Right, but it's a magnet that holds them in place. There's a magnet down here in the base, and that makes the bits magnetic, which is great when you're dealing with all these little screws, these little magnetic screws. It's great. Reconnect the tuner over there, and the other side is over here. I think that's just, yeah, that is just the tuner. I don't know why these ones didn't put a, you know, they didn't put a digital tuner on it. That would have made more sense, you know, if they put a digital tuner on this machine, because it was made after the transition to digital TV. They would have had a little more use, because you could have used them to record off air, you know, in standard definition. But still, had they put an actual ATSC tuner on it, it would have made it a more useful device than it was. Power supply board drops back in. Oops, those aren't the screws. These are the screws. fan plugs back in. That's kind of an important one, the fan, because DVD writers, the DVD laser produces a fair bit of heat, which is removed by that fan. Longer screws go into here to hold the DVD burner in place. There's 3 of them. Then finally the bracket that the front is attached to goes in. Remember, it's a long screw here or a short screw. There's a long screw there, and these other ones are shorter. One's a metal screw and one's a, they both. I guess these are both regular, like they're like plastic type screws that go in here. I don't have any more metal screws, or do I? Not just the ones for the back ones. These last 2 screws go in the back here. At least one of them does. Should be 2 of them. HDMI. Oh, that's one of the ones that holds the cabinet together. Okay, and front snaps on. Plug in the AV connector for the front. That goes on there, and the one last screw that holds this in place goes there. I think I've got everything done now other than the top cover. Let's plug it in and see whether the thing works, or does it go boom. Monitor out, power on. I got the welcome screen. That's the fan, by the way. Fan's making noise.
The technology of systems design and quality.
The fan is making such a noise, it's disturbing the picture. Watch this.
The star of the show is you. So what's in it for you? Well, you as a contestant can take advantage of this special value offering. Prizes for you start with your first 3 sales of the life.
So the VHS player is working. Yeah, that fan is as noisy as anything. It will affect the picture. It's putting a vibration through the whole unit. I bet you if we look at the picture, it'll be wiggly. Yeah, look at the wiggle of the picture. I stop the fan.
Home theater systems, you'll receive a $100.
Okay. Fan's got to be fixed. I got to take that out and lubricate the fan. For that, unplug the fan. I'll probably take it out from the back. This is just a standard computer fan, I think. It's just a normal, it's a single speed fan, so nothing fancy. But I should be able to lubricate the bearing on it. If it's not too far gone, I should be able to. So these fans, typically you can peel the sticker off. Chinese fan, what do you expect? Peel the sticker back, and here is where the bearing is. And we can pop this rubber cover open to reveal the dry bearing. And I mean, we can even pop this cut washer off, I think, and actually take it off and take the fan right out. So now I can push the fan right through, remove everything, so that I can get in here and lubricate this bearing. So let's get my electric motor oil and we'll lubricate the bearing, and hopefully that'll work for a while. I did it on computers for years and it seemed to last a long time. First, let's remove the gungy old dried up lubricant as best we can. There is another washer in here, by the way. Try not to lose it. It's a little rubber O-ring type to keep the lubricant in. We'll do that. First thing I want to do is I want to flush this out. I'm just going to use some Neutral through here just to flush out any dried lubricant that's in there. Clean off the spindle. Now we'll just get our 3-in-1 oil. We'll put a drop on the motor and a little bit into the bearing here. Just a drop is all we need. Put the motor shaft back in. And now that little rubber washer goes in on this side onto the motor shaft, and then I can put the cut washer back on and put the plug back in. Need 2 hands for this. 2 screwdrivers to push that little rubber O-ring back into place. That little O-ring is to keep the lubricant inside the bearing. And the cut washer goes back on. I gotta hold the fan in place so that I can get some clearance. Get the cut washer down. Like that. I'll give it another drop for good luck. Put the rubber cap back on. And this fan should be quiet for a while, I would think. It's an exhaust fan, so it's going to go in, airflow goes that way, so it's going to go in like that, because this is I believe drawing the air out from this thing. So it fits into the shroud just like that, drops into the back, and it's held in place with the 3 screws. Fan's back in. Just got to plug the power in for it. Okay, unit's back together. I'm going to fire it up. I'm going to go grab a blank disc and we'll make a recording on this thing. Make sure that it works. So there's the VCR loading up. Fan's nice and quiet now. Fan's spinning good.
You can earn up to a total of 3 American Express gift checks.
Okay, I'm going to go grab a rewritable disc and we'll play around with this and see if it records. Gotta make sure this disc is blank. I'm pretty sure it is. So I'll hit the VCR DVD button. I have the right remote for it. Didn't come with this, but I have one from my own. If I had a remote for this unit, I could probably sell it and actually make some money on the thing, because these things go for quite a bit of bucks. Okay, I think this disc is blank. Yeah, the disc is blank. So to yeah, people would think these aren't worth anything, but DVD recorders actually go for a few dollars when they're working. Okay, load up a tape. I'll put it into VCR mode. Load up a tape, and I'm just going to hit the dubbing button. And this is just a tape that I can record on here. And make sure we're in the right speed. Stop. Record speed. SP, LP, EP, SLP, XP. We'll do this in XP just for the best quality. Okay, rewind the tape. And all I have to do is just push the dubbing button on the front here. And that will start the VCR playing and start the DVD recording.
In North America, 45% of
and there's this video that's copying to DVD.
Brought on by airborne pollution.
When the recording's done, just press stop. That'll write it to disk. So now it's writing to the disk, and the disk is ready for playback. Of course, in order to play it on a regular DVD player, it needs to be finalized first. So we'll just make sure that I'm able to play the disc, and I don't think I need to bother finalizing it here. I'm not going to be keeping it on this disc. I'm going to erase it when I'm done. But here it is, playback. Looks exactly the same as the original recording on the VHS.
In North America, 45% of the population suffers from some form of allergy symptoms.
Okay, so stop it. If I want to delete that title, I'm just going to hit the, I think it's the top menu. Yeah, top menu. And I'll just hit enter and go down to title delete. And say yes, I am sure, and it'll erase that title, as this is a dvd+rw. You can do the same thing with dvd+r. You can erase titles, but on a write once disc, it doesn't free up the space like it does on the rewritable. Anyway, this thing's fixed. So we had a couple of different problems with this. One, the mode switch was problematic, but two, that fan was bad. And that was making a big racket, and that the vibration from this was so great that it was actually causing the tape to have a bunch of time base errors and a lot of jitter just from the vibration going through the chassis. So I'm just going to clean the heads on this machine and put it together and add this to my collection so that when I have one break down, I will have another one. Not even dirty. Thing's probably not had any hours on it. Like most of these devices, when people bought them, they were never used. Right? So many people bought these things and they just never used them. Clean. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one real soon.